Martin Luther King Day and nothing else. Just Martin Luther King Day.
That'll do it.
I wanted to use this Sunday and Martin Luther King weekend as an opportunity to talk about what Dr. King called the beloved community. And so today's message is titled Building the Beloved Community. He talked about this template for what life might look like if we could achieve unity and justice and peace and love. And, we have glimpses of what this community can look like. Jesus talked a lot about a community and a way of living together that was truly countercultural and was transformative. And, we see this in the Hindu concept of the satsang or the Buddhist sangha, these glimpses of community that are rooted in love and justice and peace. But I love what Denise said, that there cannot, as Dr. King said, there cannot be peace without justice. And he said it in this way. I think it's really powerful. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. How many of you have in your life, whether it's with a family member or in a relationship, you've experienced kind of this faux peace because it's just the absence of tension, right? And yet there's still something lacking. There's a peace that's lacking because peace isn't just an absence, it's a presence. It's the presence of healing. It's the presence of restoration. And I think there's a type of restoration and healing that can only come when we share our stories, when we really connect. And so I invited my brother Tarell Lewis to join me on stage today and to share his story. And as we explore spirituality, building community, building that beloved community, doing it from a place of really honoring our uniquenesses, learning from diversity, learning from one another, and just experiencing that depth of community. So I want to start, Tarell, and I want to really just ask how your identity as a person of color has informed your spiritual journey. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here, by the way, guys. Thank you for having me, Jake. Thank you. It's really an honor. It really is. And but first, I just have to highlight, man. I'm really feeling the game today, the dress today. The cutoff, like their dress. I think some people underestimate your fashion sense, man. We have to throw that out there, right? Like I'm over here with the dad outfit, and you got the nice, but
it's like dad chic. Though. Yeah, you wear it well. Yeah.
I'm like I need to upgrade my closet a little bit. But no, man, I'm really happy to be here today. Today is just all about me just coming here and kind of sharing my story and just being vulnerable. Like I have some notes, I have some things written down, but it's like for me, that's a piece that I've really been working on over the years. It's just being vulnerable, being able to tell my story. And just a little bit about me, I'm from Detroit, so I moved here 9 years ago. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little hurt right now with our Detroit Lions last night. We laid an egg, but it's okay. I'm still representing. I know some people out there are laughing. I know we're representing, but at the end of the day, man, I'm from Detroit. I moved here 9 years ago, and I grew up in a black church. So I grew up not having much, honestly. I have a really good family, my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, and we didn't grow up having much in Detroit. It's a city where, there's a lot of opportunity, but for a lot of people just don't see that opportunity, and being able to come from a place was just entirely different than Tucson, right? Just being exposed to just a different life, different ways of seeing life and experiencing life. It's amazing. And but yeah, I grew up in the black church, and for me, and how it informed my spirituality is we grew up praying, right? Prayer was a huge piece for me and my family. I have a grandmother that lives in Florida, and she's always praying for me. She'll send me a text sometimes, say, "Hey, I'm praying for you, Tarell." And my mom, she's a prayer every single day. And it's just that communication. I kind of grew up with that. And that really has informed me today because I myself, I pray a lot. I have a great relationship with God. And I know over the years, the idea of what is God and what is prayer has changed and evolved. But it's still today like a huge part of me. Like every single day I wake up and I'm talking to God, whether it's through just my words, through affirmations, and I make it a staple in my family to communicate with God. And I know, like, over time and recently, it's like that idea of prayer has changed for people. Are like, prayer. Yeah, what is prayer, right? Or yeah, I know you're talking to the man in the sky, but for me, it has been just a really strong connection with God. I see God in so many faces and so many situations through adversity, and it has been a journey for me, and so that really has informed me. And I just really love the connection to waking up every day and being able to have that dialogue with God, and it really keeps me grounded through many tough times. So that's a big piece for me. And then just also how my culture, being a black American male, right? Like in today's society, I've had to learn to embrace the culture. I've had to learn to embrace the impact that I make on situations, my job, communication, and just being able to embrace that. I used to walk into situations where I'm, predominantly white situations or work or whatever. And then like people would come up to me like, "Hey man, I just want to I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm not that special." Like I'm just, that's how I used to think. But now I embrace that, man, because when you step into a space where there's a lot of racial divide. There's lots of things that we can hang our hat on, discrimination. And this is just one aspect. There's so many aspects of suffering in the world, right? And so really stepping into that and being a light for people and showing people that, despite, what's going on socially or historically, I just want to show up and be a light to people. And so just being able to express myself, whether that's music, right? Who in here doesn't like to listen to music? Raise your hand. Everyone likes to listen to music, right? Right? Barely. You hit that high note earlier, though. That was really good. Music and being able to express myself with the way I dress. I'm working on it, right? Just, being able to express myself and like let my hair down. I know it's up right now, but, just like really being able to let my guard down and be open to people and express myself. That's so powerful, man.
Well, and you describe this journey of kind of owning who you are, feeling more comfortable, and there's an aspect where the world, and the divides that have existed, have not been supportive of that for people of color. Stories differ, right? And so for me, growing up as a white male, I've experienced the absence of certain fears or the absence of barriers or the absence of certain assumptions being made about me. Or you even just, you describe your upbringing and many people regardless of your culture, many people have experienced growing up poor. And these are aspects where if you didn't experience that growing up, it's going to be something that you're going to have to come to a place of compassion and empathy to understand. And really it comes from a place of acknowledging one's own privilege. I want to share a quote from Robin DiAngelo, who says, by the way, we just all week we were sharing back and forth a billion quotes, and so there's just so many quotes here, and we're not going to get through them all today. But
we have a book session. We need to get that on. Yeah.
So I'm just going to scroll through a bunch of quotes, but I love this one. It says, "White privilege allows white people to navigate life in a white dominant society with relative ease and minimal stress about race. It encourages us to realize that there are things that you and I maybe have not experienced stress about, And then we have to open ourselves up to acknowledge the stress that others have experienced. Because there is no one here who has not experienced stress. Has anyone out there never experienced stress? But if there is something in your life where you have not experienced stress in a particular area and someone else has, right? This could be anything. Then on some level, you are experiencing some level of privilege, right? So if you've never experienced any stress about your body or your weight, then on some level, you are experiencing what might be described as body privilege. Or if you've never experienced stress about money, which I think is very few, if any of us, right? But if that's you and you've never experienced stress about money, then you might be experiencing some level of economic privilege, right? And the same goes for race. And in no way is this about shaming people, right? It's just about opening up a level and layer of understanding what someone else's experience might be like. And those experiences might include injustice, maybe personally or in the world at large. So how do you view spirituality and your spiritual journey? It's like, I know you, I know that you have a deep spiritual journey. How has that influenced kind of your toolkit for addressing these injustices, or even just addressing these areas in your own life where you felt like, wow, I didn't know if I could be myself, and I had to work towards opening that up?
Absolutely. Yeah, I see it as a blessing. Looking back, we've all had adversities and things that we fight through, and have I gone through situations in my life where I showed up and I'm like, man, I really don't feel like I have the advantage in this situation. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage, or I feel like there's like one of me and 100 of other people. And that's okay. Like I've learned to embrace that. I come from Detroit, a really like a black populated city. And now I'm living here in Tucson, and I see, the difference of, showing up to events and showing up to work, et cetera. And I have experienced, discrimination and things like that, and I own it, and I understand that suffering abounds in this world. And there's a person named Rupert Spira. I don't know if you can share that quote. Can you I want to read this, okay? And I think this really gives some really good, just a good synopsis. So, victimhood is a state of being affected by the choices of others while refusing to consider the options at hand. Predatory behavior signifies feeling so shut down by the wounds of the past that we attempt to take away the choices of others to feel a depth of control that will never be found. Empowerment is recognizing how everything is here to help you. Make the most inspired, heartfelt decisions that further your soul's expansion, despite how dastardly or disheartening any moment seems to be. That's actually Kahn, so sorry I threw you off there. I'm reading this book, Everything is Here to Help You, and that's really how I look at these situations, is an opportunity to not only understand what suffering is and how I may feel from that situation, but understanding that it's just an opportunity for me to grow, for me to show compassion, not only for myself and have grace for myself, but the human condition. So I really stick to that from that perspective when I'm dealing with life, and just not to have a victim mentality, but to understand this is an opportunity for me to step into this. If I'm in a meeting or if I'm talking to someone and it's someone that I just feel that energy where it's like maybe I'm not connecting, I flip my mind and think about, do I want to be a victim? Do I want to take this as an opportunity to really connect with this person? And I'll say one word that's really powerful when it comes to connecting, and that's just the word story, right? Everyone has their own story. Everyone. Each one of us have gone through situations of discrimination, whether it's, your age, gender, sex, whatever. And how are we going to respond in those moments? Do we see it as an opportunity, or do we see it as an opportunity to be a victim? And that's one piece that I really, really try to create awareness for myself and for others, and balance that we can all play the victim, but what are we doing right now? How are we showing up today? And I'll just use our story for example, right off the cuff. When I first met you, I understood that you were a white male, and I obviously know that I'm a black male, and we just really dove into topics of just being a human being, right? Just really connecting on what it means to suffer. What does our perspective look like? Let me know a little bit about you and how you grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, and what does that look like? Right? Like we've had some.
That's the whitest name of a town ever. I mean, I know it's Spanish, but it's also very white. It's a white town. Okay.
I think about the movie Friday, and I think about the guy in Rancho Cucamonga. I don't know for all you guys who watch, but how powerful was that, Jake? To just like have a conversation, and embrace the diversity, embrace like where we're coming from and how different we are, but then be able to talk about stories and talk about my struggles and your struggles. I reached out to Jake and I was like, man, how do you come up here every Sunday and you deliver a message to this group of people, right? And you do it consistently, right? I mean, we all have our time off and things like that, but how do you get up there and stand up and just continue to deliver that, right? It's so easy for us to compare ourselves to other people, right? We look at that person, we're like, oh, I can never do that, but I'm gonna sit right here, I'm gonna drink my coffee, I'm gonna enjoy my Sunday. That's Jake's thing, right? Right, that's Jake, he's good at that. But for me, it's like, here's the challenge to all of us. We all have that in us, right? The only thing preventing us from doing some of the things that we really wanna do in life is right between our two ears. We set limitations to, okay, I'm this, so I need to be this. Yeah. I'm the black male and mostly predominantly white society or whatever. I'm a minority, so I need to do this. And it's all a limitation of our own minds. Wow. And so when we challenge ourselves to drop these perceptions that we have, these limiting beliefs, then I think we can really step into our authenticity and be who we are and celebrate our differences. And that's what you and I continually do. And we dive into these topics and we dive in and we look at it and we hear each other and we listen and we reflect. And that's what it's all about. It's extremely simple, guys. Wow. Right? And it's just connecting with each other, listening to each other's stories, giving each other that space to be heard. Yeah, I know that must have sucked, man, when you were bullied in school. I was bullied in school, right? I was bullied in school. Like, I had things happen to me. Everyone has a story, and that's what brings us together and connects us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, looking around at this community and all the different connections and friendships that have been made, we all have had this experience of connecting with one another that not only honors our unique story, but also transcends it. And I'm reminded of this quote from Archbishop of South Africa, Desmond Tutu: when we see others as less than ourselves, we deny the God in them and the God in ourselves. See, sometimes it's easy to say, I don't see anyone less than myself. No, of course not. And yet we also look at someone else's struggle and we go, well, that's not my struggle, But yet I wonder if something is lost when we approach community that way, right? Because if I'm looking at you and I'm saying you are sacred, you are holy, you are divine, right? You are containing that God in you and the same that's the God in me, then your struggle becomes my struggle.
Yes, I love that.
And that happens through relationship and through that connection. Mm-hmm. And so part of that struggle, or part of owning and understanding that, is just creating the time to really listen, right? And to say, what has that been for you? Mm-hmm. And so something I just want to ask is, what is it like for you, particularly when it comes to something like spiritual fatigue of maybe in your own life, or looking at the world and going, what's happening? Where are we going as a society? Like, where are we on the scorecard of Dr. King's dream, right? And how do you handle that? And how is your spirituality a tool for addressing that and working through that?
Absolutely. With the most recent political changes happening, right? All of the things happening in America, in the world, wars, hate, all of these things, man, you know, it makes me want to fight and fight for good, right? We see people out here fighting for the opposite, right? I remember having a conversation with you shortly after or during kind of like the election, and you asked me a question, and my response is, man, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight for good. I'm ready to fight for connection. I'm ready to fight for my story to be heard and to hear other people's story and to really just like put aside this, hey, let me listen to you and not put myself in your story. No, I want to put myself in your story. I want to feel how it what does it feel like to come up here and deliver a message and to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable. And you've done that for me and many others. How does it feel, to come in and, how are we doing as a community, as a DEA? Are we embracing you? Do you feel welcome? Do you feel supported? And you didn't say these words, but it was with your actions and many of your actions as well. So, and then how do I deal with that fatigue, man? Just self-care, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, we forget about ourselves. We just had a lovely message about love and self-care. And it's really a great reminder, man. Like, what are we doing for ourselves? We could look out on social media and scroll and just, oh man, look at that. And why is this happening? And this is so bad. But then that word comes to mind. Are you fighting? What are you doing in your community? It's easy to stay at home and scroll and watch news and call your distant friend or complain. But what are we doing right now? We all have the power to do something today, right now. And for me, that's taking care of yourself. What does my routine look like every day? My spiritual routine. What are things that I'm doing to take care of myself in the morning before the kids get up? Before the lights are turned on and things start to get crazy and my daughter's, running around screaming. Like, what am I doing for me? And for me, it's prayer. We're going back to prayers, having that communication in the morning, affirmations, reading a book, right? Investing in myself. I love that. I love that we're probably going to have a book club coming up soon. I love that we talk about knowledge and sharing quotes because that really helps me to read 10 pages a day, just investing in myself. Like I'm reading a business book right now called The Millionaire Mind, which is a really good book. I just came off of reading a book with Matt Kahn called Everything Is Here to Help You. So just reading 10 pages a day really kind of breaks me out of this mode that I'm 36 years old, and I'll be honest with you. Trusting my own thoughts sometimes is not the best, right? Like, I am literally the culmination of all of my thoughts and all of my actions to be here right now. And I feel blessed. I'm really grateful for that. But sometimes I have to think about how I handle situations and realize that my thoughts, they're a little skewed at times, right? The ego, however you want to think about it, sometimes it's getting out of my own thought process and saying, you know what, I'm going to listen to what Jake talked about today or what this teacher talked about today and not listen to myself, because sometimes removing myself and my thoughts is the best thing to do. So just investing in myself, listening to others. I wrote down healing, giving myself time to heal, giving myself time to self-reflect every single day, and just having that hope that what I'm doing is impactful. Yeah.
And I remember that conversation that you described, right around the time of the election. And I remember what was so powerful is when you talk about this idea of fighting, it wasn't fighting with any sort of enemy whatsoever. It wasn't fighting on this side or that side. It was about fighting for love, fighting for hope, really about showing up in life. And showing up fully means caring for yourself, right? We've all heard that airplane metaphor, right? You can't care for others if you're not don't first put your mask on, and really fighting for just a love that is actually present in the world. Like, how am I actually going to show up? Not just, be angry or sit behind a keyboard or worry about things, but how am I actually going to show up in the world? And I'm reminded of this really powerful Cornel West quote, the philosopher, theologian. Justice is what love looks like in public.
I love that quote.
Love, period, is a great motto, and it looks amazing on a T-shirt that you might want to buy. But but it's a whole different thing when it's lived out, right? And it's not this punitive justice that we're so familiar with, this justice of, oh, all the bad people need to get what they deserve. The ancient Hebrew people had this deeper understanding of justice, this word mishpat, where justice is very intricately tied with the word for righteousness. And in this context, justice meaning communal flourishing. Or as Rabbi Abraham Heschel said, justice is not an abstraction, but a way of being, a command to restore dignity to those who have been diminished. So really fighting for a love that is actually about living out in the world, restoring the dignity of others and caring for others and lifting others up and creating equality in whatever spaces we can. And my hope is that we are uplifted as we think about that. And for you, I'm curious, what gives you hope as you look about, you look at this journey of not just racial equity, but, spiritual inclusivity and what the kind of things that we're trying to do here and create in this community. Like, what gives you hope? What are you hopeful about?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a powerful question because hope is what Dr. Martin Luther King was just talking about. Like, this was years ago, right? And we were in a much different space as a nation, as a world. And look where we are today. I mean, yeah, we can focus and think about some of the injustices that are happening and have happened recently, but we're in a world of a different place when it comes to diversity. And that's what really gives me hope, is the fact that we are now stepping into a space, Aldea, the world, many corporate companies, many organizations are realizing, and I think this is important to note, are realizing how important and how impactful it is to have diversity. Think about that, right? When you reach out to a company or you walk into a company or a space and you see a multitude of diversity, you see a black man, maybe an Asian woman, a white male, a white whatever, and you see people working together, how does that make you feel? Right, it makes you feel good knowing that everyone's working together, everyone's stepping into this space of now, right? Because that's the only thing that we can control, is stepping into a space right now, whether it's comfortable or being uncomfortable, and showing up. And that's exactly what I wanted to get back to when I talked about earlier, when I asked you that question. I said, how do you get up there and do that? And what are your hard days look like? Right? This has nothing to do with the color of your skin. This has nothing to do with any of that, right? Even though that stuff is real and it needs to be acknowledged. But your answer to me was, I just show up, right? And just something as powerful as showing up it can be incredibly impactful. What does showing up mean? Well, for us today, we're showing up and we're in this space and we're giving each other an opportunity to tell their story, to listen, to connect. That's huge. But how do we show up in our lives every single day, right? When you get that invite to that person or that neighbor that you may not like and they may look different than you may not understand, do we show up then? Right? Do we show up in those conversations where we want to make sure that that person is heard and we're not thinking about what we want to say or what's bothering us? We're just showing up for that person. That's the magic, man. It's just showing up in the conversations and spaces. Sometimes it may be showing up to work. And so that really gives me hope, in just being able to see that communities like Aldea and many other people are embracing the diversity that we all share. I may not have grown up in Detroit, or I may not have been poor, but I want to listen and learn about what that was like for you, right? And for you, it may be a totally different scenario, but just listening and showing up and being there for each other, man, that's the magic right there.
you describe your hope in the fact that like there is a journey and there is a progression that we've been on, and if we focus on everything that's going wrong, then of course we're going to feel that. But if we also see the bigger picture and we see how this work has been culminating, I think it can provide a lot more hope for us. Dr. King, he ultimately felt that. See, look, we had so many quotes. I told you.
He had a little book club during the week.
He said he ultimately felt that the end of this work was reconciliation. The end was redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. And yeah, we know on some level that work is not done. Maybe on some level that work is never done. But we know what our goal is. We know what we're striving for, right? And so I want to close with a quote from Dr. King that really is about allowing us to zoom out from whatever disadvantages or difficulties or challenges we might be facing right now, right? Might be feeling right now in the moment. Maybe tomorrow's a day where you're going to need to remind yourself of this, that whatever challenges we're facing in our current moment, that there is some bigger picture that we are part of. There is a larger story. There is a larger arc to things, that love is inviting us into more and more openness and to more and more wholeness and more peace. This quote, it kind of uses a Christian metaphor, but regardless of where you are today with faith, I just invite you to see really the narrative that he is inviting us to with this. And he says, evil may so shape events that Caesar will occupy a palace and Christ a cross, but that same Christ will rise up and split history into AD and BC, so that even the life of Caesar must be dated by his name. And then he ends with this. Yes, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
I love that. I just want to touch on the word justice too, because it's such an empowering word. And I think some people think or may think that justice is getting those people back for wrongs that were done in the past. No. Justice isn't such an empowering word that belongs to each and every one of us. None of us are our past. None of us are our ancestors. None of us are what society thinks we may be. These boxes that people put us into. Really, justice is stepping into your situation as an individual and making a change. And what that really means is okay, yeah, things may be written this way, or I may hear about this going on, but I'm going to be that agent of change in my circle. Then that is so powerful, and that's what I think Martin Luther King really talked about as far as justice. Look where we are today. We're in a space where we're giving each other platforms and we're embracing and we're uplifting each other. That's justice. We're doing it right now. We're creating change. We're stepping into moments where it may not be comfortable, and we're taking off our gloves and we're saying this matters. This person's story matters. That person's story matters. I want to hear about this. I want to hear about that. How do we navigate? How do we embrace each other and uplift each other? How do we focus on positive affirmations versus, that's uncomfortable. I don't really want to touch that. How do we take off our gloves and say, hey, I want to learn about you. I want to step into your world. I want to know how you tick. Let's go on a hike. Let's go have coffee. Let me do something in my world to show you that justice is served. That's what Martin Luther King, that's what he meant.
Well, yeah. And that applause, I think, is something that I'll just say on behalf of this whole community that you are one of, right? That you are part of this, that you and your family, you are this community and you are part of it. We just thank you for sharing your story and for straight up preaching today.
It's the Martin Luther King vibes, MLK. I'm just really honored to be here, man. I really just so excited about the growth that Aldea is experiencing. I'm a part of the leadership team. That's another way, Aldea is representing what it really means to love, period. Unconditional love, man. Anyone that walks through these doors, they are embraced. Anyone that walks through these doors, they're shown the direction of, hey, how can we support you as a community? Creative expression. Do you have talents? Do you want to make pins? Do you want to create a book drive? Do you want to start a movie night? Like whatever you can bring to Aldea, bring it. And Aldea supports that creative expression. And at the end of the day, when we look out with the bird's eye view and we look down, it's like, man, we're all brothers and sisters up in here, man, right? We're all together. We're human beings. We're doing things that people are not doing out there in the world, man. Like we are creating a complete open space where we say, hey, if you're a human being and you have love in your heart, you come here. Come to Aldea. Right, we're gonna continue to grow. I'm pumped up about 2025. I know that we have some budget things that we're gonna get over, but we're all gonna pitch in, guys, right? Because we all have that opportunity to make that change individually. We're not just looking out into the world. We can do this individually. It starts with opening up, hearing each other's stories, right? Jumping in, showing up. That's what it's all about, man. I'm really pumped. Yeah.
I genuinely have nothing to add. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.